What's up, everybody? Brandon R. Scarborough here. I want to take a moment to share with you and tell you about my dream, my passion, ultimately my purpose. Dreams Academy is our nonprofit organization located in Akron, Ohio, where we specialize in mentoring young men of color. I started Dreams Academy in 2016, and since then, we've had the opportunity to impact and mentor over 300 young men in our area. I want to tell you about this because it's dear to me, it's near to me, and so I want to tell you how you can support. Go to our website and see what we're doing, www.dreamsacademyonline.org. Also, when you get to our website, be sure to visit our Queens Academy page. We launched Queens Academy so that we can start having the same impact with young women of color in the summer of 2021. It's been a great journey, and we look forward to impacting more and more young people. We need your help. Consider today making a donation to Dreams Academy so that we can keep impacting more and more young people. You can give online right at our website. You can give through Cash App, Dreams Academy. You can also text to give by texting DREAMS to 44321. If you are unable to donate now, that's completely fine. We still want to connect with you. Visit us on Instagram at Dreams Academy USA and Queens Academy USA. You can join us on Facebook at Dreams Academy and Queens Academy, or go to our website and fill out the Contact Us form and leave us your email address so we can add you to our email list so that you will get our newsletter so you can stay up to date with everything that's happening with our organization. Whatever you decide to do, however you connect with us, we're grateful for the connection. Thank you so much in advance for your support. Welcome to another episode of Dear White Teacher. I'm your host, Brandon R. Scarborough. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, sharing, liking everything that you do. If you haven't already, feel free to go back, listen to the previous episodes so that you can get all the great information from all the great guests that we've had. And great segue into today's great guest. We have with us Miss Carla L. Jackson. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
We like to
Brandon.
make sure we get everybody's name right.
I appreciate it. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm glad I got to finally sit and talk to you a bit. I heard you didn't have the whole city on.
Now, I don't know about all that, but I must say you are the flyest guest that we had with the whole Adidas, the glasses. You got it going with the 90s hip hop vibe.
Thank you.
You got it going.
I love Adidas.
Cool.
Adidas.
So tell the people, I know who you are. Tell the people who you are, what you do.
Okay. Well, as Brandon has already stated, my name is Carla Jackson. I'm an educational administrator, meaning a principal at a private Christian school, Emmanuel Christian Academy, located in Akron, Ohio. And I also was recently elected to the Akron Public School Board. So I serve in education.
So you just gave us two really diverse job descriptions that we'll jump into later on, but let's talk about your journey into education. Like, did this start in childhood, or was it a adult journey, or how'd you get here?
Actually, I would say probably, I'm a product of Akron Public School. I went through my whole K through 12 through APS, and I want to say,
what high school?
I went to Garfield High School.
Oh, I'm sorry, we 1040 over here.
Period, whatever.
All
Rams,
our listeners know what we've taught
Nation.
them what 1040 means, so they don't know anything else.
But I was a board member. That's my cluster right now. It's booked to 1040. So
okay.
I represent all the schools. But yeah, so I attended Garfield High School, and I think it's in high school. I'm pretty sure in high school is where I made the decision. I'm gonna be a history teacher.
Okay.
And so I had phenomenal, I had Miss Hamilton, and then I had Mr. Adam Mater, who's now actually working in central office, which is down at the Board of Education. And he was an amazing global studies teacher. Okay. And so he just made history become alive, and I just loved history. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to school and be a history teacher. And so that's what started my journey. So I did. I went to school. I became a history teacher. I went to school for education, for history. And I did a little bit of time at Alexander Hamilton in Cleveland, just volunteering and trying to get an understanding more of what it would be to be in a classroom. And I wanted to be in it even more. And then eventually I came down to Akron. I was at Emmanuel Christian Academy. When I finished up some graduate work, I was at Elliott High School, finishing up my master's in education and doing some teaching there. And I love teaching, so my journey was really, that's all I wanted to be, and that's what I became.
So we got to talk about Miss Suber, because she's just a homie. And so Miss Suber, who is the principal of Emmanuel Christian Academy, in 2005, hired me to be the 5th grade teacher.
probably the worst decision of her
No.
career.
No.
It was bad. It was bad. I was not good.
You wasn't?
No.
See, Miss Hooper has this uncanny ability to identify certain things in people,
Yeah.
right? And give people a chance, because I felt like she really did that for me, because I was able to grow tremendously from a teacher to administrator and really cultivate my gift while being in Emmanuel. So that's funny you say that, because she does, you know.
It was bad, and so when I see my kids now who are all grown, they like, Mr. S, you know you was bad, right? Right? It was bad. So, however, to Miss Hoover's credit, she never fired me. To this day, I have not been fired from Emmanuel Christian Academy.
Oh my goodness.
She reassigned me.
Oh, okay.
So that's when, hey, can you come play for the Christmas programs and all that stuff? So I've never been fired, but I was definitely removed from the classroom.
So she created a job. See, she identified like maybe he'll be better suited
over here. Yeah, let's get him out of there. Thank you, Miss Hoover, for that. Appreciate it.
And so that's why under that type of leadership, you know, the school is grown, because essentially she's not a CEO of Emmanuel, like the superintendent. Wow. She has 3 principals under. So I'm a principal of middle school. Miss Fielding, Brooke Fielding, is the elementary principal, and then we have the early childhood department, which Miss Carol, you know, Miss Carol, which she runs. And
Miss Carol's my friend. Tell her I'm doing legal things. She always accuses me of. She said, "Are you keeping it legal?" Yes, ma'am. It's always legal. It's always
I'll
legal.
definitely make sure all of it.
Yes, everything is legal. 100%. 100%. So let's talk about the dynamics of Emmanuel. It's a very well known school here in the city. You know, very familiar. A lot of people know about it and you all's work. So, you know, speak on that a little bit.
Well, as I think I already said, it is a Christian school. It is a charter school, a charter Christian school, but it's private because it is Christian. And we service students from 6 weeks. So we had a daycare all the way up to 8th grade. So it's 3 schools essentially in one. And it is 100% African, well, 99% African American, because we have one non-African American child in the daycare. With traditionally, we had a majority of African American staff. Probably within the last 2 years, we've seen a shift in that. So we are seeing more non-African American teachers in the school, which is different. Because culturally speaking, a majority of our students, like we say, we serve students at risk. And when you say the word at risk, it typically means at risk of not graduating high school. So we all understand that there's multiple factors. That could be, it could be the lack of education of your parents. It could be environmental. So that's really the demographic traditionally that we have served and we continue to serve.
Got you. So knowing all that, especially for you to say it's a private charter Christian school, how did you get to the school board and serving, you know, duly in those roles?
Right. Which is, it was crazy for some people, and it was nothing to me. Like, I was just like, but I didn't know it was going to be a thing until I knew it was a thing.
Gotcha.
Right? And so what happened was many of our students at Emmanuel end up going back into public schools. And since my time, see, at your time, probably when you were at Emmanuel, a lot of students that attended were self-pay, and they came up through the school, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I came at a different time, because you probably were there was before Ed Choice or the
This was 2005. I think Ed Choice was in effect.
Yeah,
it may have been. It may have just started, something like that. But this was 2005, and at that time, they only. So I was wrong. I was the 6th grade teacher. I still have my graduation picture because 6th grade was the highest.
Oh, yeah,
so they all graduated.
Yeah, see?
So I was a bad teacher, but they made me cry because they ain't tell me at graduation I was bad because they was just in the 6th grade.
And plus you just had them relationships.
Yeah, I had
right?
the relationships. Yeah, they still my babies, but you know.
Yeah. So what happens now, like before, you know, if most were like self-pay kids, and most of they were going to go to private anyway.
Yeah.
A majority of them. So since my time at Emmanuel, what we've seen is a lot of students. We have a lot of transfer students that have not been at Emmanuel from pre-K, and they're coming from, many of them, public schools. A lot of them are coming from public schools, and many are going back into public schools. With that being said, when you hear the stories about the kids that's coming in from public to our school and why they came, it was always interesting, because I heard the argument when I first ran for office, oh, charter schools are horrible, they're this, and they're stealing money from public schools, which I don't agree with that. I think that I don't believe anyone should be picking a school, a private or charter school, unless it's faith-based reason. So that's my first thing. I don't think a parent would even choose to send their child to a school that they have to wake up so many hours early to take them across town or spend additional money on if they felt that the school that they were sending their child was properly servicing them. So I made this statement and people say, oh, that's not true. It was because of transportation. No, I want to see that data, because if you got 21,000 people in the district or 30,000, how many people responded to a survey and said it was transportation? Because if you tell me 100, then we know it's not valid.
Right.
If you tell me 500, that's still not valid out of 30,000 or 20,000 people. But most people were saying that they didn't feel like they had a voice. They didn't feel that they were being heard. Students, this are the kids telling me this, and some students would reiterate that. However, me being at Emmanuel longer, when my students began to go back into their public high schools that have wonderful programming, especially in Akron, we have great programming. I couldn't understand, how are you graduating without a plan? It can't just be, because we know we have Project Grad that's doing amazing things. But Project Grad is at Easton Bookto, and then even at those schools, all the students are not necessarily in Project Grad. Even though I talked to Tierra and Silas Butler, who said, they still would help students, but it's so many kids, high performing kids, and you're like, how don't you have a plan?
Right.
Or if you were on a path in dental, but you're a 4.0 student, and you're still talking about being a dental assistant, why wouldn't it go be a dentist? And who's not, aligning you with those things. And then me being on the Hero K. Stubbs Scholarship Committee, the fact that you're trying to stalk kids down to apply for full ride scholarships, I'm like, I know it's kids that's qualified.
Right.
Like, what is the disconnect that I'm seeing these kids who I saw as little people, they go out and they're getting ready to graduate and they're like, I don't know where I'm gonna get money. I don't think I'm gonna go to college. I think I'm gonna work because there really ain't enough money. And I'm like, no, it's plenty of money.
Right.
Like, what is happening here? So that's what really led me to say, I need to be involved on the school board, because I thought it would be me being more involved with the community and the kids and helping to push this understanding of resources and of opportunities that are available to all. And it's not just always college.
Right.
Because APS, like, people don't know, people always talk about the 3 E's: enroll, enlist, employ. But Akron has an entrepreneurship. They have 4 E's. So kids need to know. I mean, I would be at Walmart, and I know I'm on this, but this is what I'm passionate about. I would be at Walmart and I would bump into a kid with a nice neck piece or some bomb earrings, and I'm like, oh, that is cute. And they're like, oh, I made it. And I say, what school you go to? Bookto? And I'm like, why no, Bookto has entrepreneur. I was like, oh, so are you in the program? I can show you how to scale that up.
Right.
And then she looked at me like, no. I'm like, because you working at Walmart, you probably could, even though this is good, you work at Walmart, but if you making that type of quality, I should see you all through my Facebook news feed. You should be highlighted everywhere. And I guarantee that on your own time, without you having to travel to Walmart, be on the schedule in their hours, that you can make your own hours to fit you and make probably the same
money at the very least. At the very least.
So it's those type of things and those conversations that led me to saying, I need to be on the school board. I think actually people approached me to be on the school board. And I was like, oh,
even knowing that you taught at Emmanuel.
First, I was approached, like, Carla, you should think. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what, yeah. So that's how the journey started.
That's dope, though. Thank you for your service, number one. But that's extremely dope to be able to have your voice magnified in multiple, locations and communities and demographics and all that stuff.
Because I'm about the community. So it's not just, like I said, because I'm a Christian and I do believe in Christian education, because I think it's important in cultivating your child's worldview. But I think in public education, you need to be equipping children to understand what it means to be a part of a democracy, to properly prepare them to be contributing citizens. What does that mean? You give them the information, right? You just give them the information. It should be very objectively given. You give them the history, you give them the facts. And then you let them, because you want them to be thinkers, you let them process and disseminate the information and have that recourse with each other and dialoguing with the teacher. And they can have their opinions, they can have their views. Let them have that, and then let them know how, as a citizen in America, how you use those opinions and those views by voting. By getting out in the community, doing things like that. That's the role, I feel like, of public education, is that we're equipping children to come out to be contributing citizens, whatever that looks like, whether it's in a corporate situation, because we're building corporate partnerships with all these career academies, right? That's what we're saying, that should be the goal. Or if it's in entrepreneurship. And then for private, like how I do private Christian, I do believe in private education for that standpoint. Now these other charters that's just popping up, and I do believe everyone should be accountable and have the exact same accountability if you're gonna get the dollars. But that's why I'm kind of like I'm like a phenom in that way. Like I'm an outlier. Like, what is this girl? She in charter education, they hurt schools, and I'm like, no, because your school should make your kids want to come and their families.
Yeah.
And if they don't, how do you change that? It's customer service, right? So.
Yeah, I've been there. You know, you talked about phenomenal programs. This is one called Dreams Academy.
I heard about that. I heard about that.
Yeah, you might have. You know, ain't nobody talking about us. You know, but
I heard
we're at Book Doing East at Well, and this was the first week, and no kids. Not on our account, not on anybody's account. Let's say that. But just the challenge of getting kids to stay after school, getting kids to participate, getting parents to push their kids to stay after school, to take advantage of not just us, all the great programs and like the things that you're talking about, like the entrepreneurship. I think kids need creativity. You know, for her to be able to make her name in wire or whatever, you know, whatever.
Raw, yeah. Or the lace front. I mean, they making wigs, man. I'm talking about, they doing prom dress. You in high school yourself and your classmates are coming to make prom dresses. What? Akron, let's go. I'm talking about we should have a whole plaza. That it has nothing but
the creative level is crazy.
Yeah, and so that's why I want to be a voice in the community and on a board and build a relationship with the students, because I'm not, you know, the politicking part, I'm not a politician.
Right.
But I'm a people person, and I'm for the people, and I love the children and the youth.
Right.
And I think the sense of hopelessness that you feel sometimes when you're talking to these young people, and even sometimes in teachers, it's like, no, you have significance and you have a purpose. Like, you don't see your fly? Like when Kanye said, you see this coat? When the person asked him about fashion, like, do you see this coat? I be looking at some of these kids like, do you see yourself?
Right.
Like, what you mean?
And that's what they need, though. They need somebody to almost point out, like, go look at yourself.
Yeah, so.
And have a higher thought and version, or what confidence, esteem, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Even with your program, like you're saying, with the attendance being low, it's like, you know what I'm saying, let's pull this back. Like, what does that look like? You know what I'm saying? What does it look like how are we really engaging them? Like, I'm talking about from when the bell ring, when the school started, from all that. And it's a lot of things. Teachers have a lot on their plate.
Right.
But even like when we talk, other community members, like I hear about your program, I hear it's very dope. And kids it's a big takeaway. I've heard parents speak highly of it. So no attendance, no, that don't read right to me.
Right.
So that's
we gonna fix it.
So that's something for like collaborative. That's a discussion to have. Like, okay, this how many I identified this student, this student, this student. Where a teacher from each block or a principal can say, Brenda, I got like 15 kids I walked in the hallway I was rocking with today that I'm gonna bring to you. And I'm gonna order pizza. Right, because I can't, I'm the principal. So whoever, we gonna order pizza, we gonna break bread, and we gonna talk some talk. And then that relationship building, you know, we got to get back to that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and that's not no judgment call on anyone, but you would have some kids like, oh, I didn't even know that. You know how many kids told me like, here, okay, steps, what is that? And I'm like, we dropped the applications off at your school. And then like, but nobody said nothing. The counselor said, well, we just set it out front. That ain't good enough.
Craziest story, when I started Dreams, I spent time, I go get our flyers made. I would get the paperwork from APS to get disseminate information. I'm spending money on this stuff, and would get to these schools, just give it to the secretary. Well, now at this point, it's in the secretary's hand for her to decide, do I pass this out? Does it stay here? Does it end up in the trash? Let me quit wasting my money. It got to be another way to get this, you know, social media, parents, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we sat on the front counter. Listen, them kids, they hear that bell, they going straight past the front counter. They can't wait. They're not looking at that. They're not stopping at the counter. Oh, let me see what I can do today. They're not doing that. They out of here.
It got to be an introduction. Like, you know how they say a soft introduction. Like when you in sales, like, okay, I'm going to introduce you to Gabriel. Gabriel, this is Carla. Now make it do what it do. They almost, that's how it has to happen.
It's what people do with text now. Hey, I'm introducing y'all. Y'all figure it out on y'all's own. I'm leaving the text because I don't want to be bothered with the conversation. I'm out of here.
So
This is always the great segue to, the podcast is called Dear White Teacher. You made a great statement a little bit earlier about the demographic of Emmanuel even, but how your teaching staff is starting to look a little bit different, and more non-white, or I'm sorry, non-black teachers are there at the school. And so we just really like to talk about what those classrooms are looking like, what techniques, what strategies, what are some of the even support that white teachers need. Because, so let me tell you, the reason I do this is because I feel like, or I know most black kids, their teacher is going to be white for the most part. Yeah. So in order to create successful black students, we got to create successful white teachers. And so I'm not saying the onus is all on us, but I also feel like if we can support and give them strategies and ideas and whatever else that can help everybody's classroom be successful. So that's the lens that we do this from. Okay. And so what's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts is if white or black, because I told you about this. It's not the white teacher. It's like I said, is it race that matters or character that counts? It's the character of the individual that you're speaking to. We have some things just in our society that, yes, are systemic. But the same way you have a piss poor white teacher that don't know how to connect with another demographic, another color. Like they don't know how to relate or connect to black children. They have this limited mindset. You have black teachers the same way. And so now it becomes with the culture. Because if you're disconnected, some African Americans that come from affluent families, 2-parent household, went to certain schools their whole life, won't be able to connect with black kids. Had a perfect example at Emmanuel, which was an all black school. And when I started there, it was all black staff, predominantly all black. And so we were looking for a math teacher a few years back. And this young African American man, he played football, was coming from the Cleveland area, but really wouldn't be Cleveland because, Shaker Heights, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, my parents grew up in East Cleveland. Like he's telling this whole story, but his parents elevated themselves, all right? So even at that point, they were living in Hudson. So they went from Shaker Heights to Hudson. He was subbing in Hudson School District. So he comes to Emmanuel to interview for a job. This black, statuesque African-American male, black school, all the black women like, oh, he's going to be great for these black boys, an African-American man. Oh, so again, I'm like, oh, okay. But, I still think Clarence, don't forget Clarence. Yeah. But that's okay because race matters. But when we start pulling back them pages, we see sometimes it matters, but is it always positive in the way it matters? Or does it matter because of how it impacts us sometimes by our own people, right? So he comes. He literally lasted 2 days.
Wow.
And I have middle school kids, and the 6th through 8th graders. He could not connect. There was no connection. Yeah. He could not relate to them like, hey, what's up? He couldn't connect because it was not his world. So then we had a Caucasian man came to the school to interview, needed a job too. This brother came in that classroom and instantly, he was hooping with the kids. Yeah. Cause he like, I'm from I went to Akron. This is where I grew up on the north side. Like he like, this not odd to me. Right. He was where the African American teacher, and this is facts, looked uncomfortable around people that looked like him. For me, I was like, oh, it's character. It's what's in here. Like, because you can get these same strategies are going to be needed by some African American teachers as well. So what I would say when we saying dear white teacher, I'm saying dear teacher, because it's people that come in the profession with no real passion for the profession, not knowing that you are impacting eternity. Like a teacher's job is one of the most important jobs to a physician. Because physicians are supposed to do no harm and help to promote life, right? A teacher should have that same mindset. Do no harm and promote life, right? So when we think about it from that lens, it's like, wait a minute, I as a teacher need to take a Hippocratic oath that I will do no harm, like that I'm not going to harm you mentally, that I'm not going to abuse you mentally, that I'm not going to break you down, that I'm going to help you find purpose and significance. Color at that point is an irrelevant factor.
Right.
Because if you're a wicked person, you're going to be wicked. If you're lazy, you're going to be lazy. So the first thing I would say is relationships matter. Consistency matter. Expectations are needed and necessary. We can't lower expectations, like when we think about the impact of things like they say systemic racism, right? And so now we hear a lot of this talk, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, what does that look like? And you hear talk in some educational circles where they say, okay, well then for more black children to be able to get this benefit or to get this scholarship, we need to lower this requirement. That should be highly offensive to someone that's black, because it is to me. What you mean lower it? Why do you think so it's no black kids that can meet that mark?
Right.
Well, for the majority, okay, but why? Because to lower the standard is saying something in itself. If they've been underserved here, you see, if in elementary they've been underserved, then now we need to look here to see the disconnect and who's doing the underserving and how can we close those gaps. We need to be seeing to close the gaps. Is lowering, and it's a question. I just don't believe that lowering the bar
closes the gap.
I think it enables mediocrity. I don't think it. So is that, some people say that's equity. I don't know how I feel about that, because within that same building where you're saying these kids are low, it's somebody in there that can reach that mark.
Right.
It's a such thing as a number one. To me, that's equivalent to these participation trophies. No, it's the MVP. Somebody is an MVP, Brandon.
Don't get me in no trouble with my coaches and all.
I'm just saying. I mean, because we American, everybody got an opinion. It's just Carla's.
Yeah.
Somebody on there is running a 4 or whatever that is in the 40. Somebody meeting that mark when they do that jump or whatever in foot. Somebody meeting it, so they can't get the MVP.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So when I look at it from that point, when we talk about how can we tell them, how can we help them, first is be real with the relationship and be real about why you entered the profession. Is it for summers off, 2 weeks off, right? Is it about catering to you? Because if it's about kids, you must always remember that it is about kids, and I will first do no harm. And yes, you have to take care of yourself, self-care, but am I really being the best I can be for my children? Am I properly preparing? Because some teachers come in the classroom and you ain't prepared. And because you're not prepared, your management is off. You don't have classroom management. Because you ain't prepared and you came in there thinking you was going to be the homie, white teacher, black teacher, you're going to be cool. Now you mad, everybody be quiet. Or you shut up. Now you being disrespectful.
Right.
Because now you telling kids to shut up, who the mother or father in their house, like, who you talking to?
Right.
And now, in the midst of this interaction, now these kids got assault charge, verbal assault charges. And so now here this cycle. You came to help, but you hurt. You see? And so I think at first it has to really get to that point of, why am I here and who am I serving? And if you know really that you don't want to be in an urban school, stop just taking a job.
Yeah.
If you know you don't want to teach in the urban demographic, but because they dangle some incentive in front of you, don't take the job. And for the other teachers, they hold people accountable. Because it's sad that, like the Bible says, it rains on the just and the unjust alike. You have phenomenal teachers, white, black, or phenomenal teachers. And then there's those ones. And what they say, one bad apple spoiled a bunch. It's those few that's spewed out to whereas that's what's going to stand out to you. That's what's going to highlight. But the reason why it's so detrimental to your point in education, like, it's hard for me to just say they're white teachers because I'm in education. I've been in it so long from different lenses that I've seen people that look just like me, underserved people that look just like me. And then I've seen white teachers be phenomenal and do the work as if unto God in a real way. And I've seen them be piss poor too.
Right.
I felt, oh, you racist. I've seen that too. So that's why I can't just give.
No, that's cool.
You see what I'm saying? A blank.
That's cool because you just taught me I need to do even more highlighting of the ones that do a really, really good job.
Because there's some that's spending their time building those relationships.
Yeah.
We have a volunteer, his name is Dan Pace, white male, he has no children. This is the first time, I've been at Emmanuel 15 years, and like I said, it's an all-black school. This is the first and only volunteer that I've ever had that's been with me consistently for years. Mm-hmm. That come in, walk the walk that he taught. Build a real relationship with these kids. And he just seen every facet of the kids. But they respect them now. They respect them now. Because it started off crazy, like you can expect it. He's like, listen. He was like, well, Jesus is the Lord of my life. So, but he stayed on it. But he didn't waver. Mm-hmm. He didn't lower expectations.
Right.
He was like, no, that's this, that's that. Sometimes we had to give him words like, you can't really say that because you're white. Like, you can't say that, Daddy. He was like, oh, they just piss poor. Like, just like, no, you can like acting like animal. That could be a problem if you say that, and this is why he like. Yeah. But then once he built the relationship, the kids just moving with him. It's not even about color at that point.
And he was willing to learn.
He was willing to learn.
Yeah.
And so when, like we said, when these people come into the schools and you're just coming in and people are not holding them others accountable. Like you whispering in, like we like, oh, Brandon, he don't do no work with them kids. You whispering, hold them accountable. Yeah. Y'all about to be at the same teacher union meeting. It don't take the principal to have who's not part of y'all group, collective, to talk about this teacher. Y'all hold y'all colleague accountable. Y'all put the pressure where they know not in our building, you ain't gonna underserve our kids.
Right.
And you definitely gonna underserve them if I gotta inherit them. If you the 9th grade history teacher and then I'm 10th grade, I gotta inherit your piss poorness. Every time I'm gonna put you on notice. Mm-hmm. Not with central office, in our fellowship, amongst teachers and in the union. Right. Because excellence looks different, so hold them accountable. So that you making me look bad, and I'm out here doing everything. Mm-hmm. I'm a phenomenal teacher. And then you just said this to this kid this hallway. Now every white teacher is on the board, or every black teacher, or this whole school is like on the board for being piss poor. I heard so many bad things about Bookstore 1040. Mm-hmm. That school is dope.
Thank you.
But you hear the narrative like
every time.
It's so crazy because the things that are happening there, it's just the whole energy. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? And like when I went into that high school, it was just a whole nother energy that I felt in comparison to something else. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dang, but this is not what get hyped up about this school. This is not what's highlighted about this school. So we got to change. We got to reset our own mindset. Mm-hmm. Because here it is. I've been indoctrinated by media and TV because an expectation of what them schools are. If somebody would have asked me, one of my parents, about their kid going to bookstore maybe years ago, I'd have been like,
right.
I don't know. But then when I started hearing about Project Grad, at the time when Gates Millennium Scholars was coming out, they were all coming out of 1040. Mm-hmm. Like kids getting big money scholarships. Mm-hmm. The robotics competition being one for 1040, but that's not being highlighted in that way. So anyway, I went on my whole tangent because.
Well, then they say we bragging, but we really ain't bragging because that's literally what they do to us. Everything bad comes from 1040. Mm-hmm. But everything you just said is absolutely true.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like some phenomenal things happening with these kids and these young people. And I think if we push that narrative more and stop highlighting the negative stuff that's happening in the community, but deal with it, with not making excuses, like deal with it and put things in place to give these kids options and hope. Because they self-medicating. Yes. They're doing crazy stuff because they hopeless. Mm-hmm. And a lot of kids, they get into high school and they don't see where they fit. Mm-hmm. Like, where do I really fit here? Like, I can't read or I'm struggling to read. And I ain't got to, so how do I reconcile that? Right. Like, and what type of teacher will it take to say, you know what, I think this boy's smart though. Right. But I can't be by myself. Because I got 100 of, I think that boy's smart. Right. You see, so we got to collectively at a team, we ain't got time for the bad apples. Yeah. And we ain't got time to try to wait on administration to get rid of the bad apples in our building. So the teachers have to have that sense of community and that ownership in our building. It shouldn't have to take a principal to try to regulate. You the educated, able-bodied person with a degree that's right. in the trenches. It shouldn't take the principal to have to check you about gains or what's going on in your classroom. Do the work. Mm-hmm. And have your colleagues be in line with your colleagues. Because once you do the work, you're going to produce. An apple tree gonna produce apples, especially if it's cultivated and fertilized the right way, and it's gonna be good, big apples. Do the work. You don't gotta brag to nobody about how smart and good teacher you are. You know why? Because your fruit gonna speak for you.
Right.
It's really that simple. So I'm sorry, I think I got all off.
I ain't got no questions, Gabe. I don't. No, for real. Not a couple things I'm playing, but the one thing that comes up every episode is relationships. It just comes up and comes out whether I ask the question or not. Is your relationship with your kids is just the biggest thing that plays into the education.
Relationships, everything, because they gotta trust you.
Yeah.
Children don't learn from people they don't trust. Think
Absolutely.
about it. Adults, I can't hear from somebody I don't trust.
Yeah, I saw that. I literally saw that on Instagram today.
Yeah, you can't.
About teachers.
If I don't trust you, you can't. You think I'm about to trust you to give me now? I don't trust you. My mistrust is high. So because of that, when you talking, even if it making sense, it don't read right to me, because my nature is like, nah, protect. So whatever they telling you can't be good.
Right.
Because I don't think you mean nothing well for me.
But you know, our kids though, we will come in the door not trusting you. Because that's what we've been taught. We've been indoctrinated not to really trust nobody. So,
because I'm like that right now.
Yeah, right. In life.
Yeah.
So for any teacher, white, black, otherwise, you got 3rd, 4th grade kid walking in. He's walking in the class like, I don't trust this cat. I don't trust this woman. How you overcome that?
Because by being the real deal.
Yeah.
Because that's where that consistency is key. Even within the discipline, right? Because I suspend and discipline kids all the time. But a majority of those kids and them parents, thank God for these parents too, respect. They may not like it in the beginning, they may not like me, but eventually when they see the consistency, they respect it. So do the children. Because they like, you know what? I used to think Miss Jackson didn't like me, but then I saw she suspended all them people who I thought she liked too. You see? It's like, no, I'm going to do the same every time, regardless of how I personally feel. I'm going to do the same every single time. And if you're doing great, I'm going to highlight you doing great.
Right.
But you got to, that's self-checking too. You can't hold, because some people hold grudges against kids.
Yeah.
Like I've seen teachers where, now you don't see all these other kids standing up on these desks. I'm using that for example.
Yeah.
You only see little Carla. I'm looking at the camera. Yeah, little Carla was on the desk, but so was Bebe, Chic, all these. Everybody was on the desk. Why Carla in my office?
Right.
Then little Carla come in my office. She raggedy anyway. You know she don't be prepared. She was late coming to our class. Oh, that's why little Carla in my office. Because little Carla talked to you like she grown and she got a slick mouth and she call you on all your junk. Inappropriate, she shouldn't.
Right.
But this why she on your list.
And she right.
She right? Instead of you just laughing like, girl, be quiet. I'm tired of you talking junk to me. Be quiet, go sit down. And laughing at little Carla and sit down like, I'm going to put you to work. And making her a leader because you see she grown.
Yeah.
How can you elevate that? And if she that grown, but you see, girl, you don't even know what 2 + 2. Now you got to tell her, listen, you got to boss up. You know, bosses know numbers. Let's sit. But you got to be able to connect.
Yeah.
And you have to understand your demographic. You have to. And that, I'm not saying, and it has to be authentic because some people try to come in like,
Right.
but that's not who you are. I don't care if you white or black. If this ain't who you are, if this is not your fly, you know, if you don't wear Adidas and leather cans, don't come in wearing Adidas and leather cans.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you don't know what a Yeezy is and you don't like it, don't go buy no Yeezys and just try to walk around it. You know what I'm saying? With your Yeezys
Looking
on.
uncomfortable.
Right. Be you. And the kids, they'll gravitate to that because they'll feel that. And the barriers will go down. And then some kids are very trusting, right? The ones that who haven't been set up to be trained to mistrust. And that's what's hurtful because it's when they don't know when they being mistreated. And that's when it's the job of the collective to hold those adults. We got to be on the wall. Right? To hold those adults in education accountable, community, hold the adults in education accountable about how they interact and how they dealing with kids. Because they can kill the soul and the hope in that child from a young age. And then when you get them as a 3rd grader, you think, how can a 3rd grader be this angry?
Yeah.
How can a 5th grader feel this down on themselves? Somebody planted that in them. But the worst part is if it's a teacher that did it. Somebody that we entrust to do no harm.
Yeah.
And to pour into them. Instead of pouring into them what was good, you pour poison on the seed so it wouldn't grow. That's the message for me. Don't pour poison. Be mindful. Self-check. How am I feeling? Why does child irritate me so much? You gotta check that. Like
that ain't never come. I don't think that's came up before on the episode.
Yeah.
Like you gotta ask yourself, why does cat irritate me?
Yeah. Why I don't like this group of kids?
And why that's an okay question to ask yourself. I mean, I do it as a grown person. Like, yeah, I don't really mess with them. Why? But also, I don't mess with them. But why?
In a real way.
What is it? Yeah.
I did a study. You know, I'm at the end. I'm working on my dissertation now for my PhD. But one of
Doc.
One of the studies, one of my research papers that I did dealt with like grading, like A, B, C, D, right? Because grading is, if it's a point system, right? It's hard numbers. It's quantitative. You measure either you met this rubric or you did. But what I found out with the different teachers in the observation and stuff and looking at the data is that sometimes Shayla's D, she really tried, end up being a C. Where Shayla it should have been a 68%. Where did the other 2 points come from on this question? This, you know, when you read the question, like, well, she tried, I can tell she was really, no, this answer is wrong.
Yeah.
But you gave her the point. Like, instead of taking off 2 points, you gave her a 1.5. Because you ain't want her to, you know, because she tried. You believe she tried. Dante tried too. But because of how you perceive Dante bad as hell. He don't listen. He be talking off. He deserved his. No, he deserved the same grace you gave Shayla if you give him grace.
Right.
His answer wasn't quite right. You picking at butterflies to give Shayla this 1.5 on this question.
Yeah.
That's the implicit biases that teachers have too.
Yeah.
Where we grading on personality, you know, behavior more than we are on the knowledge. You got some students, straight A students. Parents that can't even tell you this. Like, my daughter couldn't even count change, but she been on merit roll or honor roll. How is that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she tried. She's so good. She's such a pleasant student in class. And she's like, but my kid can't read.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Teachers, you got to check that. Consistent across the board. That's okay, Shayla. You'll do better next time. But this is really what you should have answered on this. But we're going to have a quiz next week. That's what you got to tell Shayla. Instead of giving Shayla grades because of grades. And we ain't going to talk about just the sorry teachers that don't grade nothing. Just offer behavior just like, okay, this is an 80. This is 70.
right.
This is an A. You see? So, again, accountability. I think I always go back to accountability, Brandon.
All right.
Brandon gonna be like, Carla, did you answer my question? We gonna go back to the tape like, girl, did you answer the question?
No, because this is the thing. Like, it's so many great clips that's gonna come from this one. I mean, because you just went for it, so I'm fine. Like, you have not made me have to sit here and think hard. Like, what's next? So
well, because we
cool.
talking my sweet spot. Like, this is my life.
I'm good.
Like, and I'm these kids. Like, I'm these kids. And just thankfully that I had people and I had family that spoke hope into me. Like, I wasn't being torn down at home.
Yeah.
But I thank God that I wasn't. And I had aunties and people that fought for me with my bad butt. You know, that by the time, I think, because of the consistency and discipline, by the time I got to like middle school and then high school, my life was together, like in my mind. Like, I knew education was important. I knew how to sit there. I knew how to abide by the rules, but I also knew how to agitate and fight for myself and speak out against injustice. That's that AME church. And like, listen, everything was racist when I was everything. That's racist. You being racist, you know, until I evolved. Like, this ain't racist, Carla. You was late.
Yeah.
Like, you turned in to work late. This ain't got to do with you wait. Like, girl, you know. But I had to grow to that. But I thank God for the family I had. But I think about the kids, the people I grew up that didn't have that same thing. So they was getting that talk at home that wasn't edifying them. And they didn't have that church family to build them up and support them. So when they went to a school and the teacher said something slick to them, it was just like, whatever, but it was here. It was in, you know, it was here. Whereas if something was said to me, crazy. I went home and I know, no, that ain't right, and that's not who I am, and my auntie gonna be up here. Type deal. So then when I'm in high school, I'm just like a good kid. For the most part, I'm a good kid. I know how to play by the rules. I'm doing my work and doing what I need to do because from earlier elementary, it got worked out of me. Like the misbehaviors, because I wanted to be highlighted, but it was being reinforced for me at home. And I'm thinking if I didn't have a certain level of expectation in my home front, I don't know what that would have meant for me though. because I was in a corner. Elementary, one time I was at Rankin Elementary, and I was bad, right? And so I talked so much, I had to be on this teacher's nerves. The teacher put a flip. They used to have them wood things that had paper on them where they used to write stuff on them and then flip the big piece of paper. Brandon, they put me in the corner of the room. Put one right here. This was the wall. So they put one in front of me right here and one on the side of me. Now, right now, this would be illegal as I don't know what to do this to a kid. And I'm in the classroom, and this is how they taught me. And I had to sit, like, basically, that's how they kept me in there for a remainder of the year because I talked too much. I guess I was being disruptive to the learning environment. But I'm thinking, like, dang, I was in, like, the 2nd grade.
Wow.
That could have messed me up, right?
Yeah.
But it did.
They put you in a little corner cell.
That's what they did. You put me in a cell, like, dim my light. And that same year, I ended up having to go to, like, a summer school. Like they said, I guess I wasn't going to pass the 2nd grade or whatever. And I remember walking down there, my Uncle Carlos, who I'm named after, he dead now. He used to call me Pig. He said, Pig, how you have to go? You smart. How you got to be going to son? I know you don't got to be going to the, you know. He said all this, and I lived on Beach for that time. I remember just feeling so sad because he said this to me, and so I knew, I guess a part of me knew I was performing beneath who I was. Yeah. Even though I couldn't articulate that like that, but something in me felt sad because his expectation for me wasn't being met, and this was my guy, right? He was like, "They like you stupid. You ain't stupid." Like, and I was like, "I know I ain't stupid." So I walked my little self to Rankin to the little couple weeks of summer school they had, and at that point, it was like something clicked, like, and I just started trying. Yeah. Like I really was trying. Not that I couldn't, I just didn't put forth that much effort in the classroom. Yeah. As an adult, I look back on it and I realized this, but when I wasn't trying, I felt like I was just like, oh, she wanted them back. Because I had a smart mouth, I talked all the time, like a baby kid probably. And so some teachers just was like, and then by the time I got to 4th grade, I think I started going to Beard, I had Joe Sanders, and she was on my neck with like math and all that stuff, and plus she rewarded us, so I tried, and then it was just up from there. So it just, my whole life shifted off of that, like the expectations. Yeah. Like I had a teacher, she had an expectation, it wasn't that I was bad, and she was just like, and talked to me very real. She was white. I think she was a Jewish lady, Joe Sanders. Miss Sanders. She'd be like, you know, talk to you straight in your face, but poured into you. Yeah. Like it had expectations. And I was like, man, I got to try this. I was studying in the 4th grade, trying to get the multiplication. And not because I had to at home, but because I knew she would have us going around doing, and I wanted to excel. And I just started following me, and here you have it.
And that's dope that, I don't know your age, and I ain't going to tell it if I did know it.
No, I'm grown. I'm 42. Okay. My Jackie Robinson year.
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't asking you for it, but I'm just saying.
It's all right.
But to remember
Joy
Sanders from 4th grade. You know,
because I remember she was a good teacher, and I remember the impact. Like this lady believed that I can do something. Yeah, and that's who every teacher should strive to be. That when your kids get grown, good and grown, 40s, 50s, they can go back to that time and say. And remember like when I talk about Mr. Matter and at Garfield, it's just like teachers where listen, I love what I'm doing. Yeah. Like this is my job, but I love it and I'm dope at it. Yeah. You know, because you're the real deal in your profession. You know your content. You're the real deal. And it's like some teachers, if kids feel like you don't know nothing, that's a problem. Yeah. If they feel like, because you could know it, but you don't know how to properly disseminate it to children. Yeah. You're not an educator then. Yeah. You just went through these classes and got this certification, and now we got all these kids that's being lost on you. That's that accountability. Other colleagues like, Brandon, she can't stay in our building. Yeah. Where the teachers are like talking to each other and the union reps like, y'all know it's a problem. How we get this person out of our building? Right. Because this our community, this our culture, this our numbers.
When she really don't need to go nowhere else for real.
At all, but
you know,
it's your job to make sure that to where they lead the profession.
Right.
We gotta take care of our home. They get over there to y'all. This should be the same model. Let's get our community together, our learning community, to where it's like we gotta protect the kids. This teacher can't be in our building, right? Because it's a standard in our building, and the goal is for every building to be like that, right? You know, to have that accountability. I think that's equity. Mm-hmm. That we make sure everyone has what they need in these buildings, which is quality teachers. Every building need a quality teacher that's committed. Yeah. So, all right, I'm done talking.
You sure?
Yeah,
No, you good.
As soon as you say that, I'm like, oh, and yep.
So this the thing that we usually end. I'll be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't use words on a teaching podcast. Like I'd be like,
that's cool.
we usually say, look at the camera, tell the people where they can find you. She already made it clear she doesn't want to be found. So that's not going to happen this episode. She's on the school board. You know her name. Right. If you want to find her, if you want to find her, just find her. Yeah, she's not dropping no names. But I don't know if you got a word of wisdom you want to leave the teachers with. You know, you really have dropped some diamond nuggets. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so if you got one more in you, that's your camera. That's your moment for you to have it.
Okay, I think I would say, teachers, we don't just impact for the moment, we impact for eternity. So whatever you do in that young life, understand it will follow them throughout their life. So be very intentional.
That's a whole nother clip. Yo, another dope episode in the books. Thank you for downloading. As we said earlier, thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Follow the IG and the TikTok, dear_white_teacher. Connect with us. We got a lot of crazy, I was about to say crazy dope stuff. Crazy good, excellent, awesome stuff. That is about, I know, it's like, I have a variety of listeners, so I want to hit everybody so they understand. Yeah. We got a lot of crazy good stuff coming that's about to happen. So stay tuned, keep up with us. Another episode in the books. Thanks so much for listening. We out.